I've always wanted to make video games. I've been playing games just about my whole life, and I was obsessed with them when I was young. So, of course, having that obsession, I wanted to make my own. But I soon learned that that is an incredibly difficult task, and something that my 7-year-old brain could never accomplish. But I'm not 7 anymore. Looking around on the internet, I learned just how possible it really was to make a video game without extensive schooling or a huge development team. There's plenty of amazing games that were just made by 1 or 2 people, and I'm 1 or 2 people. So that means I can make one too. I've been wanting to make games for a while now, and I've come up with a lot of ideas that ended up scrapped. Some of these ideas I do want to come back for, but they're a bit too big for my skill level at the moment. A few years ago, I saw Cannibal Corpse live, and I got the idea for this game afterwards. CARRION Kitchen, a horror comedy cooking game where you're forced to cook food for monsters. After getting caught dining and dashing from a restaurant, you're forced to work for one Mix Lucrezi, your greedy, chain-smoking, non-binary asshole of a boss. Your life as you know it has been restrained behind the walls of their kitchen, and the only way to make it through the week alive is to serve food and drink to the horrifying creatures that observe your enclosure. If you're not skilled enough, you might just end up as their next meal. So, where do we begin? First, we pick out an engine. I'm using Godot. It's open source and you completely own everything you make with it. It's also somewhat beginner friendly and has plenty of great tutorials and forums available. The second thing to figure out is what the gameplay is like. I'm a big fan of point and click games. I got my first fix of them through sites like Cool Math Games and Huda Math. They were staples of procrastination during school. The one series I kept going back to the most was the Papa's Gameria series. You know, the ones where you work a restaurant, making various foods. This is what inspired the basic gameplay of CARRION Kitchen. It's a simple yet fun loop with lots of replayability, and seemed somewhat easy to code, so I went with that. Next up is the graphics. In the past couple of years, I've become really fascinated by old 3D graphics. I come from a background in stop motion work, so of course I've always preferred art with a little bit of an edge to it. I like seeing the handwriting of the artist in their work, you know? And that 90s 3D art style is packed full of roughness. There's a lot of old games that have really inspired me for this project. Games like Harvester, the I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream PC game, all of the original Resident Evil games, even more modern games like the works of Wrong Oregon and Puppet Combo. To achieve this effect, I'm using Blender for modeling, combined with Sprite for textures. There's a great plugin called Pre-Bambase that links these two together, allowing for a really easy texturing experience. A big inspiration for this game, and what kind of got me into retro graphics, was the original Fallout game. I love the way that this game works its UI. Everything just has this kind of grimy, grungy feel to it, and it's packed full of charm. I love the clunkiness of it, and I especially love these moments where you're talking to an NPC and you just get this up-close, kind of uncomfortable face. It's a little bit off-putting, and there's so much technology and bulbs and weird things surrounding it. I wanted to bring that energy into this game. I think one game has influenced me the most. I talked about Fallout, that's definitely one of the other big ones. But right now I want to focus on a little Japanese horror game that came out in the 90s called Garage Bad Dream Adventure. I love this game. I want to highlight a specific technique that Garage uses, and a lot of other games use this technique too, especially in the point and click genre, and that is Garage is a 3D game, and so is CARRION Kitchen. Or is it? There's animated cutscenes with obvious interpolation, all of the characters have 3D models and full turnarounds, but if you look really closely, all of the scenes are made up of images taken from those 3D models. Look at this, there's a slight separation of the character from the background. This is something that I want to implement in my own game, because coding in 3 dimensions is much harder than coding in 2 dimensions. And I already don't know what I'm doing, so I want to make this as easy as possible while still getting that 3D look. I know this choice won't affect the gameplay at all because all of the Papa's games are 2D already. So to make all of these sprites, I set up a scene in Blender, and then I individually export each object so I can layer them in Godot. They still have all of the right lighting and depth, but they are perfectly mixed as 2D images. So, what am I going to work on next month? I've been coding some basic things, like a start menu, camera switching, and some interactable bits and pieces. But next month, I really want to work on the cooking station, as it's probably the most important station in the game. I want to have a few different ingredients to grab from the fridge, and a cooktop to set them on. Also, I think I'll be able to reuse a lot of the code in this station on the other two. I also want to get a conveyor belt working. My idea here is that once you're done in one station, you set your items on the belt, and it brings it all the way down to the assembly station. I think it would be real neat to watch your items go all the way throughout the game, and add another little bit of timing you have to worry about. I'm trying not to load too much on my plate, but my goal is to have this game somewhat done by the end of this year, and to continue to release devlogs at the end of every month. So, if you'd like to see this project through, subscribe to the channel. If you want more updates, you can also follow CARRION Kitchen on Instagram. My name is Dragaden, and I hope to see you again.